Everybody, welcome back to 312, the HRP Podcast for our end-of-year episode. It's an annual tradition now. And for this one, rather than doing a split between Work Hard and Play Hard, where Work Hard is audio and Play Hard is video, we are doing the entire episode as a video podcast. Of course, if you're listening, you'll get to enjoy the audio. But, of course, if you want to see us all in all of our glory here at the end of the year, make sure to get to our YouTube channel, HRP Associates, Inc., on YouTube, and check us out there. So we have with us, of course, our officers of the company, Dan Titus, CEO.
Hi.
Joe Cardinale, CFO.
Hello.
And Tad Goetcheus, President and COO.
Hello there.
So let's start off this episode with everybody here telling us how the year has been so far for the company. And who wants to lead us off in this little chat here?
It's you.
What are you looking at me for?
You're the EO.
He's pointing his finger.
It's been
at me.
quick.
I know,
EO
like
starts.
The year has flown.
Yeah, the year has been
Yeah.
very quick.
That is true. Very fast year.
It's been a good year. We've had really good revenue growth, and we've met most of our financial metrics. We have a really awesome staff. The blend of personalities across the company seems to be really, really good right now. Done a lot of hard work positioning ourselves for next year, which was part of the work of this year. And that all looks very positive. So,
A lot of cool projects this year.
A lot of cool
too.
projects this year, big high profile projects.
Rensselaer Field.
Wampus. Great year.
And Tad, what would you add to Dan's statement?
Yeah, I would say too, and also, a different variety of projects. Like when you talk about like the contamination side or the sector, the environmental remediation sides, a lot of different problems that we've seen at sites that are just kind of a high profile, affecting the community, multi-site sources, things of that nature too. But like different contaminants, multi-contaminants, so really complex situations have happened up this year too as well. Yeah.
And Joe, we've got a couple of commentary from you along the way here, but what are your overall thoughts for how this year went?
Well, like Dan said, there was a lot of good growth there. I do want to shout out to the South Carolina office. We did a office redo for them.
Good point.
Build out and
Amazing
new furniture.
video showing that.
Check that
Just
video
fantastic
out, everybody.
video on that.
On YouTube. Great video. I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cut that though. But we had a great year. We've had some records being broken with unbilled write-off. It's being very low.
Yep.
So we had a very productive year.
Is that your financial highlight for the year?
We had record revenue growth from, if you take out the St. Louis project, we've had the highest revenue we've ever had, highest NSR. Unbilled, like I said, very, very low, the write-off there. So a lot of good stuff financially for this year, and that's, we're on a streak right now, 2 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
We're on a little streak going, so it's great.
I just learned actually today.
Yeah.
That with respect, so Joe brought up the South Carolina office, which is gorgeous. It's probably the most beautiful office in the company.
Regardless whether I sit there.
It's mostly because of you.
Which, we have some very nice offices in the company. But now we have, is the lease signed yet for Massachusetts?
It is not. We're still working on it. It's close.
Yeah.
It's very, very close.
But it looks like we're going to have that signed.
Most likely before the end of the year.
And it's on Main Street in Plymouth. And the thing that I learned yesterday is that there's a bar right across the street.
Nice. Okay.
So I think that means that
Every
office at HRP, except for the corporate office in St. Louis, is proximal to some sort of alcohol serving establishment.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I think that might be a thing.
I would say that this office is an alcohol serving establishment.
Well, we just brought the bar inside.
Yeah, we just bring it in.
Yeah.
Well, this lease is up in 6 years, so always look.
In addition to that,
Always
though,
look for something.
I would say like each one of our offices too, besides that, obviously, and I think that's part of like the work-life balance. So you can decompress, have a cocktail, but they're also where there's good settings. You can go out at lunchtime, you can walk around, you can get fresh air, and it's they really, it's not the old ugly office buildings where you just
No, it's not.
salt my trenches. And really all of our properties are like that. You walk to get something to eat, that type of thing. And all of them really are like that. So I'm really excited to see the Plymouth space. That's kind of something I always ever dreamed of. You kind of say, I always wanted to invest in a property like that. I think it's going to be cool. We have an office like that because you're going to be a part of the community there.
Well,
we are going to be part of the community there, big time.
Coming for 2024 will be the remodel of New York.
So
Yes.
So
just to say it out loud, like a lot of the branding and advertising that we do around that office has to be at Plymouth Rock.
Yeah.
I don't think most people put that together yet, but it's literally where the Mayflower landed.
Yeah.
Not that means much from an environmental engineering perspective.
And I think
It's
I
just
went to it
interesting.
as a kid, as a small child. I think you can get the shot of the whole Plymouth Rock in like one screen too.
I heard it's small.
It'll
It's
fit
not
all in
big.
one screen.
Isn't it small?
It's portable.
It's tiny.
It's tiny.
I don't know if I'd call it portable.
I don't think it's bigger
pretty well
than
on
this.
the ground.
It's not as bigger than this coffee table.
I heard it was small.
Exactly. Yeah.
I always thought of it as being huge since, they got off on the ship there. But
Yeah.
The ships were tiny, Joe.
I guess so.
It's not as marketable, but I think Plymouth Pebble would have been the appropriate. But no, that's going to be some exciting space. Yeah, it really, really will be.
Absolutely. I've seen a couple pictures of it so far, and it does look like it's going to be a gorgeous office.
There's also a coffee shop next door. So we've got
A sushi place
libations
down the street too.
and sushi.
One
That
that is apparently
is
top-notch.
rumored to be the best. That,
I don't. Yeah.
I'll be the judge of that.
I will also be the judge of that.
I'll also be the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
they
is
do-
not all that stuff though. You get like client meetings, you can decompress, you could have a serious meeting, you could bring in folks like that. All that's just, it's kind of like, it's so current.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so current with the way things are.
So 6 more years, we'll have to see about this place, what we're going to do.
This one's too big.
Well, we'll see. We can move into downtown Hartford with
Oh, hard no.
the gold building or something. Oh, definitely hard no.
That's
Well,
not downtown.
gold building?
Cult building?
Gold.
Gold building.
Gold.
Okay.
One of our competitors is moving into the gold building downtown.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're downsizing and moving in there.
The stress and the cost and all that to be in a big metropolitan city, I just don't see it. I don't.
Did you say big metropolitan city?
Sorry,
We're talking about Hartford.
relatively.
It's like the
larger,
Plymouth Rock
Yes.
of
Yes, I
cities. It's
Yeah.
tiny.
I understand. Guess I'm thinking of Atlanta or Charlotte when I say
Yeah,
that,
not the
but,
same.
yeah,
Definitely not the same.
Well, I think we can move now into my favorite segment of our year-end podcast, our Rookie of the Year shout-outs. And I think, Joe, we'll start with you. Tell us your Rookie of the Year. Give us some context to that. And then Tad and Dan will have you both comment
My
on Joe's pick.
2023 Rookie of the Year, like how I'm announcing it.
Uh-huh.
You all have to do that too.
Do we really? Just like that?
No. My 2023 Rookie of the Year is Jonathan Borntrager. Jonathan came to us this year. I think it was February,
About
March,
February, yeah,
around
February.
there. But it was a hard sell to me originally when we were going to hire Jonathan.
Everything's a hard sell.
I know, but this one
really.
this one was a harder sell. This one was a tough one for
Well, what's
them
his-
to get by me.
And why was that, Joe? What's his title? What is he?
He is the health and safety officer of the company.
Okay.
So
Corporate health and safety officer.
corporate health and safety officer. Thank you. He, honestly, I don't really know too much of the technical work that he does,
But I was against it.
I was against it. I really was. The sell was, and what really got me over the hump for hiring him was, I can't remember if it was you or somebody, but what Jonathan mainly does is make sure we don't do something stupid that will cost us money in the future. So I remember when Jonathan started, I'm like, you were sold to me as an insurance plan.
Yeah.
And he's been great. I love Jonathan. He's a great character, great guy to be in the company. And, we joke about it all the time now that he calls himself the insurance plan.
The insurance plan, the risk prevention.
Yes.
person.
So, that's what he does. He prevents, helps us mitigate risk for people that are on site. So
It was kind of an extension from you. It's kind of neat because, like you say, in your position as CFO, not knowing exactly what he does for job function, but actually he's an extension of you as a risk prevention for the company and, watching out for the safety of our employees. So it does fit right in with
Absolutely.
what you do. So that's kind of neat that
And
you picked him out.
He's identified stuff, and we're trying to fix things, and it's great.
Yeah, he's done an excellent job.
Yeah,
He talks really fast.
very fast.
And I'm from the Northeast.
Yes.
Like, fast.
Yeah.
He's down in North Carolina.
We call it
Which is funny
dedicated
because
to his craft.
usually the people in the South they talk a little slower.
Was he
Some
born
of them definitely do.
Yeah, right.
Was he born and raised in the South?
We've got some that work
He,
here.
he's from Raleigh, North
You
Carolina.
would never
right?
pick it. So
No.
he's in the North Carolina office, and he talks like he's
It's
not from
fast.
Boston. It's like Boston without an accent. It's very fast, which is I'm all about that.
He's a
It's okay.
caffeinated New Englander. What are you saying?
Oh, there we
It's
go.
a caffeinated,
I like that.
caffeinated Connecticution.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And by the way, I think the Rookie of the Year designation is anybody who's hired in the last in the calendar
In
year.
the calendar year of
that's
2023.
Yeah,
the
we should say
calendar year.
Jonathan has like 30 years of experience
Yes.
as an OSHA
He is
inspector.
HRP.
He's a professor at a
2023 Rookie of the
university
Year.
and all sorts of stuff. So
Yep.
lots
Is
of experience.
that how it works in sports? Are you a rookie if it's your first year with
Yep.
the team, or is
Doesn't
it just
matter
your
how
first
old.
year?
Doesn't matter
First
how
year in
old
the
you are.
league.
Okay.
Yep. First
Yeah.
In
year
the league.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Japanese guys that come over
Uh-huh.
and then they'll play in the major leagues for the first year. They're 30 years old. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, are we talking about baseball?
sorry, Dan. Sorry.
Beep, 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 beep.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Okay. Did you have anything more to say about Jonathan?
No,
before we
I'm
moved
good.
on?
I'm good.
Okay. Tad, who is your Rookie of the Year pick?
Well, yeah. What's interesting is when my pick is a person who came in a relatively quiet individual as far as their just demeanor and the way that they attack work, but it's Jorge, and Jorge sits in the Connecticut office here in Farmington, and he is a hazmat person. So a lot of his experience was with asbestos, but he's jumped into a lot of industrial hygiene projects. I know most of his experience was just in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And, geez, I'd have to check, but I think he's probably been in 5 or 6 states. I think right now, actually, as we speak, he's in the state of Washington doing some sampling. So the state of Washington, and not D.C., is where he's at, but he did a lot of work for us at the Park Service up in Massachusetts, which was some of our early federal work that we got, which I'm sure we'll probably expand on. I know Dan can comment on it a little bit later. And importantly, in the fact, because he's making a mark of doing excellent work, and obviously when you start out in a arena like the federal, you want to have good marks.
Yeah.
And geez, he's been so energetic about volunteering and really coming into his own, listening and improving. Got some things he's got to work on, but I know he's addressed those and really is starting attacking into them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also dove into a lot of training, a lot of compliance training that HRP does. So he's been a big help to Dave Webster. So it's nice seeing him, and he's just got a great demeanor. The only thing we got to work on is where he sits. He has his headphones on, and I'm always so apprehensive going in there because you can scare him to death.
When has that ever slowed you down?
Yeah, I know. But I guess I try to minimize it by like tripping or something when I go in there
Okay,
to see if he
fair
turns
enough.
around, to make some noise. But no, he's really done a good job for a lot of offices too. He's also been inner office helping out. So it's kind of neat to see the way he's grown.
Yeah.
That's a good job.
A lot of the H&S folks here, they are out there so often doing so much work out in the field that you don't really even get a chance to see them in the office.
I gotta say, I think I've met him once.
yeah.
As long as he's been here.
I'm with you. Once.
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear about him all the time,
Yeah,
but
Which
he's
is the-
literally never here.
the good part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to make a video with him in my hometown. We were doing a hazmat job on the former Winstead Health Center, which you can go check out again on our YouTube channel. Interesting video.
There's a theme here.
What?
Yeah, that was a good video. I like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I was pretty proud of him. He probably wasn't here more than a month that he jumped into
Barely,
that.
yeah,
He
yeah.
jumped into that, and I was like, wow, he's got a presence.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the sampling work.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat.
All right, Dan, who is your pick for Rookie of the Year?
Andrew Chase from IT. IT is like one of those things. We were talking about this the other day. The draw on IT has just grown geometrically. Everybody watches the news, cybersecurity issues and all that sort of stuff. The requirement for, highly professional IT services, especially because we transact in so many spaces with so many different kinds of clients from, the private sector with, defense contractors who have all sorts of, secrecy requirements to the federal government, to state government, and back and forth and everything in between. We're engaged electronically or digitally with just a huge swath of the marketplace. And that obviously presents a lot of risk to us because, there's just all sorts of inbound traffic that I think other organizations just don't necessarily have to consume that way. So we expanded our IT department, and Andrew was the ad. Our other IT guys, not to, step past them, are amazing, but they've all sort of elevated because, they're more focused like on cybersecurity and all that sort of stuff. And so Andrew ultimately has kind of gotten like, the walk around the office and, help people figure out how to turn their computer on job.
Yeah. Are you talking about yourself?
I'm not talking about myself personally, all right, Joe. Just checking. Ever. That never happened. But, that job sometimes isn't a fun job, I don't think, because, usually when you get a call, when he gets a call out of IT to come fix somebody's technology problem, it's because, they needed to print something out 30 minutes ago and they've been sitting there messing with it. And now they're just mad and they want to break stuff and clients are calling them and yelling at them and all that sort of stuff. And you get to walk into the middle of that. It's like walking, into a traffic accident after it just happened. So not always an easy job, but he's just a very easygoing and affable guy who's polite and, he's friendly and he engages with you and he's always got a smile on his face and a chuckle.
Always.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. I think he would laugh at like a white ceiling. Like it's easy to make him chuckle. But that's rather charming and endearing. So I think he's been a real good ad out on the floor, walking around, taking care of all of our stub toes in IT. So absolutely. Andrew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that, Dan, mainly because I use the IT help desk a lot, and Andrew's always been the one on the other end.
Yeah.
And what's neat, too, is he will always come out and he'll jump on it right away and really wants to solve the problem for you. But he also will say, hey, I never knew about that anymore. Hey, I learned about that, too. So not only did we fix you and get you up and running, but we help you, too. And I know he's going to watch this, so I'm going to kind of give him a little shot. I think I know why he's so energetic and all. I've told him, we got in a conversation one day about Nutella. And I said, you can do that when you're young. He eats it by the spoonful. Okay. So I think that's why he's also energetic, is the sugar rush that he gets from it. I said, when you get to my age.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I said, there's nothing wrong with it. I said, it's just, you can't do that. At my age, you're going to, that's not good. So work on that. So I always pick on him for that every time I see him. So, but no, he's good. If you're having a bad day, you just need to walk by that guy, and the chuckle will get you going.
I'll have to buy him some Nutella.
And some Nutella. That'd be good Secret Santa gift.
Like a 5-gallon bucket of it.
Right?
We have some.
Go to Costco.
Right now. You can go to my house right now.
Can you get a 5-gallon bucket of Nutella?
No, I don't think it's 5. The biggest ones are.
It's got to be Sam's or Costco, right?
The biggest ones.
They're pretty big, yeah. They're pretty big, but they're not 5 gallons.
Great Secret Santa gift for someone who hasn't gotten one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that concludes Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk a little bit now about what is coming up next year. We already touched on it a bit. We talked about our Massachusetts office opening and a little bit about what that will look like. But maybe we can talk a little bit more about what's going to be happening in the Massachusetts office coming up and who we expect to see there.
Yeah, so Brian Massa is heading up the Massachusetts office. Brian comes to us with a wealth of PFAS experience. In particular, he was the LSP, Massachusetts thing, of record for PFAS at the Barnstable Airport on Cape Cod, which is kind of like the ground zero, love canal, if you will, of PFAS contamination. And he's done a lot of work there and remediated that site. And also, as a part of that work, has gotten involved in PFAS forensics, which there seems to be a lot of interest out there on the street trying to figure out who's responsible for what. Shocker. So he brings a very impressive and useful resume to our PFAS practice, which through the work that we're doing in New York, which is very on the front foot with respect to PFAS, and the New York DEC is giving us more and more PFAS work all the time. So our PFAS resume across all the offices is growing geometrically.
Yeah.
Talking to some of our other like-sized competitors, and even some of the larger ones. I watch their eyebrows crawl up their foreheads a little bit once in a while when I start talking about our PFAS experience, because we have a lot more than they do. So that's more than just a next year thing, but that's the future of the geo business. So pretty excited about that. But we're also expanding our federal footprint. We have a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business joint venture that we've been working, the past year to expand our opportunities in federal space, and that's been working. But we are now also entering into a joint venture with an 8A, a woman-owned business. Name of the company is Greenwise, down in Virginia, which just gives us even more access to the federal marketplaces, which is great. Listen, we're talking about economies of scale in this business and trying to build the foundations of the business around the financial model of the business around economies of scale, sort of as like foundation stones. And when you sort of look at it from that perspective, the federal government is the world's biggest buyer. So, that's a place that we want to be. We have GSA schedule submissions out. We're pumping a ton of energy into the federal space, and we're going to continue to do that into next year. Projections for next year look really good. We're continuing on this growth curve. There's a lot going on. I know we were concerned, even 90 days ago, with some of the large projects that we've sort of worked our way out of. That's a funny thing about this business that a lot of people don't always recognize. It's, in a way, it's kind of like being a home builder. Like none of the jobs that we have are really permanent. Like the whole point is to work yourself out of it. So like, the site cleanup is a classic one, but once you go and, I don't know, clean up a site, like you're supposed to be done, and then they're not supposed to make it dirty again. So like you're not coming back, right?
Yeah.
So
Wish they would, but
that would be great for us, but that's not the way it works. But so there's this constant cycle or rotation of work happening, and when you have a lot of larger projects, like the Rensselaer Field project is a good example. Those are hard to replace sometimes. And so we were worried even 90 days ago that we're going to have some difficulty because, there's economies of scale in those large projects too. If the Rensselaer project was worth $1 million, and I'm literally making that up, so don't quote me on that, but probably a lot more. But if a lot more. If that project was worth $1 million, trying to replace that singular project with 30 smaller ones is a lot of extra work. It's 30 more contacts, it's 30 more contracts, it's 30 more invoices.
More manpower.
Yeah. So being able to replace those large projects is really, really important to sort of list the sort of the economic stability of the company. And all of a sudden,
projections came in.
It's raining big projects again. So. And some of them that we've been kicking around for a while, I don't even want to say them out loud because I want to jinx them.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. There's a lot more smoke there right now. Starting to feel some heat, so probably some fire.
Yeah.
I think, frankly, I think Joe's projections, if I had to lay a bet right now, Joe's projections are really light.
I would agree with that.
And that means that we're going to have an awful lot of hiring to do.
Yeah. In my part of the business plan meeting, I do go over that.
Yeah.
That we are very conservative on our estimate.
Yeah.
What can you tell us now, which is the past of when this comes out?
Yeah.
Which will be after when you tell everybody.
I mean, I am going to be telling people why it's conservative,
Okay.
but I'm not going into very much detail. But more of the detail is what actually Dan just said with these big projects, that is starting to fire up a little bit, smoke up, I want to say.
Gotcha.
Actually, I should tell you, I just got off the phone with Gene Watson before we came in here.
So we might have another one here.
And he has an opportunity in the St. Louis schools to do a whole host of comprehensive PCB sampling.
Well, that'd be good.
And the question was, would we be willing to do expert work on the backside of that sampling if the school district decided they wanted to pursue somebody? Won't say who that is. We said, yes, we do that. But anyway, that's another, the St. Louis school system, and people don't realize it, in a city, how big that is. It's like the New York City school system.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's huge, so it's a lot of work.
More big
and that's
projects.
another thing that's not in the projections.
Right, that's not in there.
Yeah.
Those big ones, the DC, we're being conservative on that, but we've already been getting new work orders that might blow the projection out of the water.
Yeah.
The PFAS could change a lot of things. The Massachusetts office could change a lot of stuff. And probably the biggest one of them all is the federal work.
Yeah.
And that could really change. And right now the projections are very light on all of those.
The other thing that I think is exciting about next year, as much as we're talking about finances and projections and markets and all that sort of stuff, which probably a lot of people are like, oh, there's those guys talking about that stuff again.
I love talking about that.
Yeah, I love talking about it too, but it is kind of, for certain, it's boring for some people.
I find your stuff that you guys do boring, so
We'll right back at you.
It's fine.
Effective multiplier, boy. Anyway,
that's why we're a team. We each,
get
excited about our own little thing, and
right.
together we make one happy family.
That's right.
the other thing that is going to feature, as per usual, but in I think a more comprehensive and integrated way, next year, working on employee engagement and enhancing the culture, which is sort of in many ways our most valuable asset. Introducing new people into the culture, refining the culture, advancing those ideas, creating, a place where we live up to our value statement, open to all comers with lots of opportunity, ideas. We all collectively feel this is a pretty special place to work. Obviously, it's a bit of a bias there, but we're always working to demonstrate that, to emote that to outsiders and attract new talent. And I think we do a pretty good job of that, but we've got a lot of ideas about this year about how to platform that some more, to create some more brand reach in that respect, and of course create more engagement across the company. And it's a word that gets used out there a lot, engagement. People have brand consultants and whatnot come in and throw these words around, and we see some of that and chuckle at it sometimes because of its lack of authenticity. But we kind of invented some of this stuff, kind of feel like, especially from an engineering company perspective.
Yeah.
That's why we call our culture 312. It's actually branded unto itself, which is pretty cool. That's why we do stuff like this. It's not something that a lot of engineering companies are thinking much about. So pretty excited about that. So hopefully we can take all of those big ideas and, the what looks like the potential prosperity that's in front of us next year, and bring those two things together and take another sort of evolutional step in HRP's trajectory.
Build upon the momentum that we've been working on.
Yeah, building upon it. And I think the big thing, too, we also do focus on is in a fear of complacency. We don't want to be complacent. So I know between having a business and focus plan, growth plan for what we want to do, really every department, every pillar they're making themselves better.
Yeah.
They're tweaking. They're not satisfied with their laurels. So HR is doing something, accounting is doing something, operations is doing something, and different marketing sectors. The marketing service is making us better for what we're doing. So everybody has goals and objectives going into the next year to say, hey, last year was last year. And let's try to make it 4 years in a row, and really setting it up for 5, 6, and 7 ahead of time is where we're really focusing. So there is a lot of that, and why that is, some of that stuff external, some of that stuff is internal. We are focusing on the employees as well and their growth and well-being too. So with that's the case. So it's hot and picking up is what it is. So I do know, and I want to ask you guys this question too, after I make a statement. I mean, I think in the compliance arena, there's a lot more investments coming into either back into the States, locally with the economy. People feel the economy's better. And you see that when you start to see a lot more industrial hygiene work. You also see a lot of more air compliance work. So air compliance work comes from either people are retrofitting their facilities or they're building and putting new operations in. That usually means air permits, something's happening. Plants are getting bigger. And in order to run their operations, they have to get an air permit, but also process safety management. We have folks that are incredibly busy with that now because long-term investments, I feel money that has been maybe saddled or under somebody's mattress or pillow for a while is starting to be spent, and plants are having massive growth spurts, and we have that sector to fill that. But my question to you guys is the economy's picked up a little bit. Obviously, we lived in fear where everybody was like, tomorrow's a recession is going to boom, it's going to drop, and we always were very watching it out of the back. And then you got the election, and then you got the 2 wars and things like that. With our projections or with our focus and forecast, you think people got a little bit better outlook toward the future now from what you're seeing? I know we have our outlook, but what's your look on the take of things? Obviously, election year is next year, and that's always crazy.
Inside the company or just broadly?
Oh, a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Well, first of all, I want to say I correctly predicted that we would not have a recession. We can go back and check the
Is
emails.
that a humble brag?
Yeah. No.
Humble?
It's not humble at all.
Yeah.
It's just a brag. To answer your question, something's coming. There is an inevitability that there will be something coming.
A correction.
Absolutely. There's going to be a little recession or something. We could bank on it. It'll happen. When it's going to happen is the harder part. Most likely 2024, 25, we might see something. It's, an election year. It's pretty volatile as of a year, so you'll probably see something. The issue is, though, really for recessions is the duration. If you have quick ones, our industry won't really feel anything too much. But if you have long ones that start filtering into, housing, manufacturing, that's when we're going to have to start, really looking at things to safeguard the company, things to protect, predict. So I think it's coming. We just need to prepare. And when Dan was talking about the economies of scale, and we've been building the basement, the foundation of the company. We've been doing that in the last few years with, I know this is a scary word a lot of times, especially as an accountant, but adding overhead, building that foundation to be able to grow and support that. So if we're making that stronger, we're allowed to really branch out, really reach out for federal work, PFAS work, a lot of stuff that is not what we've been doing, the last 41 years. So building that base, allowing for the house to be built on top of the foundation, should get us through any type of small to medium recession.
I have a slightly different view of it from Joe.
I'm glad we're recording this.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. There's always a recession coming when you talk to financial people. The thing that they're never good at is predicting when.
That's true.
So we can say with absolute certainty that there is
that way they're going to be right?
Well, I can say with 100% certainty, humble brags, that there will be a recession in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could say that too.
Yeah. When? I don't know.
Tonight's forecast.
Yeah.
Dark.
Right. Having said that, I think the way that the markets have been moving for, really since just before the pandemic, we've been having sort of mini recessions all over the place anyway, in the midst of crazy financial performance. I think that, the street right now is significantly overbought. PE ratios, multiples are crazy in stocks right now. So I think
record high today.
Yeah. So I think we'll probably see a correction there, but Main Street and Wall Street have become disconnected through the pandemic. And so I don't know necessarily that we would see a whole economy recession. We may see some reverse direction with respect to like Wall Street, which will have some spending effect on our industrial based clients. So that's the thing. Maybe different on Main Street though. So that's secondary, tertiary suppliers are not necessarily, publicly traded, so they may be a little bit more durable in that respect. And then we have so many, municipal, state, and federal contracts. Our diversity of services at this point, both in terms of the practice areas, but also in terms of the client base, we have a very, very broad footprint. We also have a lot of offices for a company of our size. And all of those things are intentional. We have competitors here adjacent to the corporate office that are technically from a headcount probably a little bit bigger than we are, but also are much more geographically constrained, and their service base is also more geographically constrained. So, it has been true in the past that HRP in downturns is a little countercyclic, and I haven't seen anything that, first of all, I can't really explain why, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about that for the record, but I can't see any reason that would be different now. And I think that, our diversity of services, our footprint, both nationally, but also from, a client base, so, federal, private, all that sort of stuff, makes us more durable in downturns. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm not saying that we don't have to make some adjustments and that we don't need to do, a good job on the financial planning side. Joe does a great job of that anyway. So I think we're already doing that, which just sort of adds additional armor to the business. I'm not really all that concerned about this year. I think, when I say this year, I mean 2024. I think this year is going to be a good year. Don't know exactly how we're going to put all the pieces together, but I think it's going to be a really good year.
Okay.
Really, if we can get into that federal market space,
Which we will.
Which we will.
yes,
We already are.
we'll do that. But
But
if the
deeply into it.
more you get into it,
Yeah.
the more protection there is. Because one branch of government that keeps spending even during recessions is the federal government. So
And for what we do, they need us.
Yep.
For what they need and their backlog of it fits well with what we do. I feel kind of the same way. I think there will be a partial correction, but I think some folks have gotten a little bit better with their antsiness about the whole roof caving in and things like that. But typical. I'm looking at the market, going, hey, things are going well. Yeah, you wait for this thing. People are going to be cashing out before the end of the year, so we'll get they'll make their profits before the end of the year just for this little kick up. But
I already did, not for nothing. As I'm sitting here saying we're going to have a good year next year, I mean that, but I've taken some money off the table.
Yeah. So, but
he means personally. He means
Yes.
personally.
Was that not
Everybody.
obvious?
Just wanted to make sure
That was-
people understand that.
But I
Sorry.
do think, want to, commend HRP as a whole, really, and all the efforts of all the folks doing it, is we really worked hard to kind of secure our future, but protect our future by looking into ways that we really can diversify. I really don't recall the numbers, but I was really impressed I can't remember what meeting it was, we looked at our top, maybe it was 10 clients or so, and the number and the percentage of the revenue that we had with them used to be so high. It was like those 10, and you were like, "Oh, we really need." Now it has been so much more smoothed out.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That was such a comforting. That was like one night when you're like, I'm gonna really go to sleep tonight. I'll go to pretty well, and it's. I think you said it before, Dan. It was intentional.
Totally intentional.
It was intentional, and a lot of folks. That doesn't happen unless you have folks buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
You folks, it's not just us four sitting here. It's everybody that's out there that are buying into it.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to the year to come. So I think we can wrap it up here with our message to the employees from each of our officers here. I'd like to start off with Mr. Tad Goetcheus. If you could tell us, Tad, where we've come from this year, wrap it up into a nice personal message that you wanted to send to communicate to all those employees out here at HRP.
Geez, where we've come from, we've come from a spot at the beginning of the year where we've had a very, very large backlog. Mm-hmm. We've had a deficit of folks to accomplish that. Still fighting and battling the recruiting and the hiring arena, battling every day with recruiting. But we've managed to really work hard to fight through that and maintain the course. But at the same time, grow as individuals, grow our pillars of services and our outreach, and also I think really mold together. We've gone and been successful with working together, a multi-office task force and things like that, and we're better for it. So appreciate the effort for folks doing it, but don't let up. You can never let up because Your competition's always around the corner. And this day's about to end, and tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
It's corny advice, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all are together in saying thank you to all of you out there who worked so hard to make this a great year.
Appreciate them all.
Joe, what would you say to the employees? What advice would you give them for the moment we're in right now?
Stay the course.
Yeah.
We've been doing a very good job in the last 2 years of improving profitability. It's something we focused on a few years ago, working with project managers to improve. And last 2 years have been great. We've got to just continue the good work. Appreciate all the hard work that everybody is doing. But stay the course. It's been a good year. We're projecting another good year next year. So,
And Dan, we talked a lot about it already, but can you sum it up for us? Give us that concise out here, the big picture and the future for the company.
With respect to employees?
Yeah.
So, good comments from both Tad and Joe. I was listening to a podcast the other day, one that I like a lot, and they were talking about service companies, which of course is what we are, professional services. And one of the panel experts said, the assets go home in the elevators when you work in a professional service company. Obviously, we don't have many elevators around, but the point there is that a professional services company of any variety is only about its employees. Its assets are its employees. The thing about consulting, same thing with being a lawyer or being a contract accountant, what have you, it requires hustle every day because, as we sort of touched on earlier in the conversation, we're always working ourselves out of a job, which is kind of the point. You clean the site up, you don't go back. So that inherently requires people to take the next step. It's not a business or an industry where you can stand still. And so that, inherently, bad words, kind of gets to sort of the idea of hustle culture.
Yeah.
But there's a balance there. And I guess what I would encourage all HRP employees, current and hopefully future in the coming year, to do is to try to, in your professional life here at HRP, find some joy. Find the things that you really like to do. Be vocal about that with your managers. If you really like to do A thing over here or not B thing over there, sometimes you got to do B. That's why they call this work. But I think HRP is focused more exclusively on the idea that those assets that go home in the elevator are really what the company is all about. I think a lot of other companies pay lip service to that. That's not lip service here. That's why we spend so much time on culture. That's why we spend so much time doing like the things that we're doing right now. And so, as people sort of contemplate the idea of work-life balance, which is critical, and we want people to have that, I think some of what gets lost sometimes on the professional side is the idea that the work that you do, the thing that you went to school for, the thing that you studied, you should be able to find some real satisfaction in prosecuting that, for yourself, not just for the company. And that's what I mean by finding some joy. If you can find some joy in the work that you do, all we're trying to do as, the management of the company, the leadership of the company, is build a foundation that you can work off of. And if we're doing these things correctly, and we talk about, unbilled write-offs and profit margins and forecasts and all that sort of stuff, and that's something that we have to do. That's part of running a business. But if we're doing that job well, correctly, you can sort of stand on top of that foundation and find some joy in the work that you do and focus on doing the thing that you went to school for, that you enjoy doing, that you get some satisfaction out of, and it will be productive, and we will meet those goals, and we will get to those objectives, because that's the service. So try in 2024 to find some joy in your work.
Awesome. All right, Dan, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode. If you are listening, make sure to rate us 5 stars on the podcasting app of your choice. And if you are watching us on YouTube, give us that thumbs up, subscribe, like. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.